Welcome friends back to the final video of Unit 2, the target market, consumer behavior, and we're going to look a little bit at branding today and how important that is in the marketing world. So products, services, and brands. Many of you are familiar with ESPN, Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. The origin of ESPN is very interesting. Back in the late 70s, Bill Rasmussen was a fired local TV producer of sports in Connecticut. And fed up with his job, fed up with a lot of things, he pitched an idea of 24/7 sports broadcasting. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all about sports. In 1979, now, so I've heard back in that late decade, that basically 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, there was no programming from midnight to 6 a.m. in the morning, my friends. So you got basically the national anthem played at 12:01, and then a blank screen happened until 6 a.m. when the news picked it up the next morning. So we didn't even have any type of program. Cable TV was just a thought of coming on. And so very entrepreneurial spirit on Bill to say this is what we need. And what's happened since then? The brand is synonymous with any type of sports entertainment. Today, under its brand name, 7 networks, largest sports radio network, 700 affiliates, 50 Spanish language affiliates. Online, it's been the leading sports website for decades. 41 million users unique each month. 35% of all sports videos are done by ESPN. Of course, they have the bowl games. They have tremendous amounts of great sports entertainment. Reason for success, customer focus. The most seamless, high-quality experience for their customers. Their mission, and Bill wrote this before the company started, we want to serve sports enthusiasts wherever sports are watched, listened to, discussed, read about, debated, or played. We want to be there. On a given year, ESPN brings in between $9 and $10 billion in annual revenues. It is the most important brand in terms of revenues to the Disney Corporation. Disney owns ESPN, among other things. They also own Marvel. And so when you think what Marvel has done, and you think what ESPN is doing, and ESPN is still number one in branding revenue for the company, it's pretty amazing. It's all about the brand, my friends. That's what we have our relationships with, doesn't it? So we look at products and services. This is the first P of the marketing mix. All right, we have product, place, price, promotion. We have people. A lot of people also out there. We have packaging, but packaging is brought in to the product. Product is anything that can be offered to a market for acquisition, use, consumption, satisfies that want or need. We have services. Now, my background is in service businesses, and again, it's an activity, benefit, or satisfaction offered for sale. It's intangible. You don't really hold the service, do you? But you certainly see the result of it. So both are crucial in our economy. Our economy is primarily a service-based economy. Again, your financial services, from professional consulting services, all the way to cleaning, lawn services, and in between. So we've talked about why the first unit, service businesses, are very easy to get into. You don't have to manufacture anything. You're doing the work. So we look at branding. We look at experiences, don't we? It's not just customer service. We talked about that. It's the experience. The best companies want to provide that their product and service to become an experience. They create the customer value. Pardon me. And again, this is a differentiation, so to speak. This makes us different than our competitors. Starbucks, their experience is we want to be the third place. So you're asking, well, what's the first and second place? Well, the first place in most people's lives is probably home. The second place is work. And then this is what Starbucks wants to be. Hey, you meet after hours, you socialize, you relax. Whether you come into the store or the drive-through or just walk up, we want to be that third place. And again, how many of us have ever had to sell something on Craigslist? Or would you want them to come to your house or apartment? Or would you rather say, hey, meet me at the Starbucks on Precinct Line and I'll see you in the parking lot, or where a crowd is? The third place. Now that's interesting now, because we are in the COVID-19 pandemic, which is going to last for the next foreseeable future. How do we still have that third place of just hanging out inside of a Starbucks? Well, this is Starbucks' new format, and they went with this very strong. They've been testing it out for the past couple of years, and they are going to close 500 to 2,000 stores this year. And sometimes those stores close just because of lease agreements, and they're going to have the Starbucks pickup. They believe that it's an on-the-go experience. They have so much value in their brand. They work so hard to develop the third experience. They believe they can still have it. And so this is New York City and Chicago, where you order on your app. Okay, you really don't order in here, and it's a simple pickup. Well, what about here in Texas? What will that look like? You'll see stores just designed around this format. Really no seats, nothing to sit down in, but you can come pick it up or you can come drive through, more like the kiosk system, but there's someone there to greet you and give you your order. So I think Starbucks has found that they want to keep customers safe, and yet they want to also, see what's in the future, how they can take advantage of what's going on in the workplace. Again, we're making you feel safe. That's one of those buying behavior motivations. Still my favorite product. I feel safe and I can get what I want. We'll see that. So you're going to start seeing Starbucks with very little, new Starbucks, I should say, not a lot of seating. Come in, get it, and leave. And as you can see here, there's really no seats at all. And again, this is your city downtown pickup, but you'll see more of a kiosk outside. You can walk up and pick it up, or you can drive through. The levels of a product. When we look at this, we have the core value here. Here's the actual product. Now, what's in that actual product? The brand name? Absolutely. The features, the design, the quality level, the packaging, and in all of this, my friends, there are careers. There's career in package, design, engineering, quality control, branding, marketing. So that's the actual product. Does it go out another layer? Yeah, we have augmentation of the product. What about that after the sales service? So important, especially on your big money ticket items. But always the service we get, the warranty. Okay, I really can't touch that warranty. I can't hold it, but it gives me what? It gives you the peace of mind. Again, the safety that you've bought the right product. The support. If it's a technical item, am I going to get the support I need? And of course, how am I going to finance this, and how am I going to get it delivered? All of these are augmentations of the actual product. So when we see the things we love to buy, there's a lot going on. And there are some career moves for each of us in those areas. Again, we look at the classification, B2C, which this course is mainly about. You're buying to the final consumer for personal consumption. Again, the industrial products is the B2B market. This is bought by other organizations for further processing, making that product or performing that service. And then they're taking it to the customer. Again, my friends, as you look at your careers, what your company, is it a B2C company? If it's private, is it a B2B? If you can land in the B2B and you're in that marketing and sales effort, there's some very good careers and very lucrative careers in those areas. A lot of stress, absolutely, but hey, who's not under stress right now? Get paid for it. So let's look at consumer products. Again, in the behavioral model that we've been discussing in this unit, the considerations that we have. and the buying behaviors like convenience products. Our brain does not want to be taxed. It really doesn't. Not on every single thing we do. So things that we frequently purchase, we don't plan a lot for. We just know when we need it. There's little shopping comparison. There may be very little price. If anything, it's just a price comparison. Oh, this is on sale today. It's very low emotional involvement. Again, the brain doesn't want to have to overwork. So again, the price is usually low. The distribution of products, of our convenience products, are pretty much everywhere, either online, Walmart, Walgreens, the store, Kroger. Promotion is mass communication. I don't need a salesperson to say, hey, do you need some different toothpaste today? No. Toothpaste, laundry detergent, cleaning supplies, sundries, toilet paper, paper towels, the stuff that we buy all the time. Okay? Maybe even some just basic food items as well. That's our convenience product. So we just kind of blow out the message through mass communication. Maybe we have in-store displays. Maybe you have a quick deal of the day coupon, if that much. And there is the low emotional involvement for convenience products. Well, we tend to buy more than just convenience products. Sometimes we want to go out and shop, right? We want the stuff that we like. So the buying behavior for a shopping product. Now, a shopping product, less frequent purchase. Okay, I'm going to plan about this. This is something that you want. So your comparison is based on price, quality, and style. There's a lot more emotional involvement. Obviously, some of the nice clothing we want, electronics, furniture, major appliances. This is probably not walking into a store and say, oh, I think I'll take that brand new LG refrigerator at $2,000. You price that out, you look at it, you read the reviews. All right, selective stores, so it's a higher price. Selective stores. Probably someone does need to help you with some personal selling, tell you all the features about it. Different types of advertising versus just mass communication, very targeted advertising. And, again, that's how we purchase the things that we really like. Okay, that I need to go get a new suit. I want to get maybe some new phone, new piece of furniture. I'm going to look around, higher involvement. I know the price is going to be higher. And again, that makes sense, doesn't it? Higher the price, the more involvement we need. Now, specialty products, interesting. Buying behavior, strong brand preferences, very loyalty, very high involvement, probably a lower price sensitivity. And this is why, because you love the brand. Okay, we know it's a high price, limited distribution, again, targeted and personal selling here. If you had always had your eye on the Sony mirrorless digital camera, I think it's the A7i Cube, 3 eyes on it. It's about $1,500, or a Nikon, or a Canon. You're very loyal to one of those brands. If you saw a different brand on sale, you might say, okay, I might like that, but this is what I want. I want the brand I like. I want the Movado Heritage watch. I want the Rolex, because that's what I've been looking at. So we don't tend to see the price sensitivity so much, because again, it's a specialty product. High-end photography equipment. Again, this is when you want to treat yourself to something special. You've got a promotion, you've got the raise, you've got the new job. And so this is, you're very, very brand loyal to it. And of course, from the marketing perspective, we understand this. And this is an interesting one. There's also, as we're just painting broad strokes and grouping different levels of types of products, there's an unsought product, which means you're not seeking this at all. In fact, you may even be avoiding it. So you don't have a lot of interest. It may bring back to you negative feelings. The price distribution vary. It's a very aggressive advertising, by the way, and it's a lot of personal selling, guilt and fear. And as you're saying, well, what would I want? Why would I even want a product like this? Well, here it is. Here's a few. How about life insurance? If I were to ask you, and I ask my classes on campus, how many of us are over 18 years old? Well, most everyone raises their hand. And then how many of you have life insurance? Because if you're over 18, unfortunately, death is a part of life. And I can assure you, someone who has had to pay for a couple of funerals for a father-in-law and a brother-in-law, It is expensive. It's expensive. And so you have at least enough to a burial plot. All of a sudden you get some guilt in here, you get some fear, and that's what salespeople can really prey upon and use to their advantage. How about a last will and testament? You have one of those. If you're over 18, you need one. And so all of a sudden, if I go into certainly somebody with children, and I would go in and ask John, do you have enough life insurance? If you were to die today, are your children covered in that? Would they have an education? And I go, well, I don't have anything yet. All of a sudden, well, then you need 10 times the life insurance. And so that's exactly how that's done. Funeral services as well. Things that you don't want to think about, but you're glad you have them when you need them. And so you can see lots of personal selling here. And we use the guilt there. You're going to leave your family with nothing if you pass on? That's not smart. You know how much a funeral costs? If you do a full funeral with everything, with the visitation, the casket, you're looking at 15 grand, my friends. You may be able to get away with a cheaper one, but all of a sudden, you don't want to pull that out of your savings account. So, those are the unsought products, and you could probably think of more. Again, lots of different warranties that we add and tack on at the end. I really don't want to buy a warranty, but you're kind of feared into it because it makes you feel safer when you have it. And again, these items right in here make us feel safer that I have protected my family, my loved ones, and things are going to be taken care of. By the way, most of these salespeople are paid with commission, and they do really well. You can see why. So we're in the heart of the marketing mix. And again, traditionally, it's the 4 Ps. I always include people because we are it. I am the voice right now of Tarrant County College. Whoever our higher administrators are, that doesn't play a point in your education right now. It's the relationship that you have with your instructors and your advisors and the people that you deal with to get your education. That's why people are so important. So let's look at this. The decisions, the product line decisions, the product mix decisions from the marketing standpoint. This is the lifeblood of an organization who's a product organization. That means we're making things and we're selling them. So we have attributes, we have the branding, packaging, labeling, and the support services. We can't just throw out something. You have this great idea. Okay, it all has to be very complementary. So let's look at this. Attributes, just the product itself, the quality, the tactic, the features. Are they stripped down? Have you ever gone in, possibly when you buy your own phones, and this is a few years ago, they would sell you the stripped down iPhone, probably more like the 7, 8, or the 7 or the 8 with 16 gigs for the cheapest price. And you say, oh, I'll take that for $300 or $400. And then the person says, yeah, 16 gigs, you won't hold one video on there. With all your photos, it'll be locked up. What you need, and of course now I think we're at almost a terabyte for your phone. That's what you need to get fully loaded. So there's an upsell there, isn't it? The style and design, the aesthetics, the functionality. That is a cell phone. That's why it's called a cell phone. It's a cellular, battery and antenna in there. All this could do was basically just call. There was no texting, but this was back in like 1990, maybe 89, 88, and you were one of the few people who had one. Cost about $2,000. Yep, that was $2,000, and you had to have that was for the phone. Then you had to have a very expensive service because there was just very few cell towers throughout the United States, and it basically your whole body was the antenna. So we had a lot of healthcare problems after that too. And that thing weighed about 2 pounds. It was at least 16. Yeah, no, that was closer to 20 ounces to 32 ounces, right about 2 pounds. It was huge. And then sometimes you had to have a little battery pack with it to this. Well, we love that style. We love how it looks, but that had to be the evolution of the product. And so we buy things on that. We also we love the brands, my friends. Again, branding is the experience you have. You buy Nike because you enjoy the brand. It's not just a Nike shirt. You're buying that shirt for everything that Nike represents, everything that Microsoft or Disney or Amazon or Samsung or Google represents. Some of the most valuable brands, Apple's brand alone, not the organization, because Apple just on value, stock capitalization is well over $1 trillion, but just the name of Apple, and it's probably gone up, this was just late last year, is over $200 billion. And Google's 167 billion. That's just their name to have it. That's how important it is. There's our sports teams, our top sports teams. The number one sports team in the world, the value is the Dallas Cowboys. There's Jerry. For those of you not football fans, that's Jerry Jones. If I were to ask you who the commissioner of the National Football League is, and if you're not a football fan, you may have a hard time answering that question. But again, you probably know who Jerry Jones is. He is, as far as genius is in marketing, he gets it. He's it. This team has won nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're almost pitiful to watch. And I'm a lifelong Cowboy fan, so don't think I'm anything else but that. The last Super Bowl was in 1995 season, which was in 1996. So we are 20 plus years away from anything that they've done that's been great. And yet they're worth $6 billion. The Patriots, well, there's the cheating team right there, but now Tom Brady's gone. They're only worth $3.2 billion. My goodness, they won, what, 6 championships since the 1999 season? And he's number one. Manchester United, of course, we know soccer does rule the world, so there's Manchester. There's the New York Yankees. They've got just 100 years of history behind it. And Real Madrid and FC Barcelona. Interesting. The brand itself, the star. If we were, and I put Jerry's face on there just because we love him. Just that star is worth $6 billion. Interesting, my friends. Interesting. Branding. There's jobs just in brand management, keeping that brand. We want to build as much goodwill as we possibly can, of course, through the social media channels. Protect the brand. And as I say this, for those of you who are actually watching these videos, and I'm sure that the A students, I know that, protect your brand. You are branding yourself. Yes, you are. Everything you do, from your ideas, your all of your own digital footprint, it's very, very important, my friends. Again, if you haven't created a LinkedIn account, create it. You're more than welcome to link in with me. I'll look for you. I'll get your network going. We need to build our brand. The brand is the name, the term, the sign, the logo. All combinations, my friends. It identifies that product or service. Lexus. Just the Lexus name. You should realize, you should automatically know, we're not talking Toyota Corolla. We're talking a luxury automobile, and that's how they've positioned and branded themselves as an offshoot, although Toyota owns Lexus since their 1990. So, again, we know the quality level of the product or service. The brand name, why? Well, it builds the loyalty. It tells your story. It's trademark, it's protection. We develop that relationship, and again, it's well beyond the physical product. On all of these, it's well beyond that. It's, I'm an H&M person. I'm a Nike person. I'm all Under Armour. I'm all of this. This is what we identify with. Deep consumer behavior learning going on through our branding. So the brand, extremely important. Packaging, okay. So we've got the beautiful product. We're putting the brand and the name and the position into our target market. Now they've got to touch it. They've got to pick it up. They've got to see it. Sometimes it's the last mile that this is where you make a decision, especially on smaller products, but good career, especially if you're artistic. It protects it. It's storage, it's sale. It should complement the product. I think that's just very cool. As little mustaches here by this French paintbrush company. Very creative. Again, packaging is so important. It's the only marketing, I mean, it may be. Like if you're in a store and you see something like this and say, hey, that looks high quality to me. I'm a lover of hot sauce and spice. And so 70% of shoppers will make their purchase final decision as they put it in their cart. either online or in store when they see how the packaging looks. If you're in a store, when you're in one, especially a grocery store where there's so many different products, you will view 300 items a minute. Your brain can process it. You don't know it, but it's processing. So something's got to stand out. This is maybe the last chance to influence that buyer. Poor packaging. Interesting. 16,000 Americans die each year taking the wrong prescription drugs. My father-in-law, well, all of my parents are in some sort of assisted living now. Both my father and father-in-law have passed on probably 15 years ago, but they were taking so many meds. And my father-in-law, being Spanish, could not read English very well. It was difficult for him to read Spanish very well. He had some problems, and we would go make sure his medicines were taken, my wife and I, and he wasn't taking any of it. He couldn't understand any of it. They were in very small pill boxes, and so we created a system where he could color code, and we color coded the bottles as well as a sheet. So when he would take an orange, when he would take the yellow, the blue at different times of the day, and it helped out a little bit, but it was so confusing. And most senior citizens are taking lots of drugs, and these little boxes just confuse them till they don't want to take it. 6,000 ER customers every year just trying to open something. Have you ever tried to open something in packaging plastic, and you take a knife out, and of course the knife pops out and gives you a wound? Crazy. There's some great ideas when you're in those positions to make it, and Amazon did. I think this is genius personally. You can order your prescriptions from the Amazon pill pack, and they'll give you a month's supply, and they'll do it daily. And this is at 8 a.m. Monday. Nice, bright. You take this pack. I thought of that idea about 15 years ago, and I should be making money off it, but I didn't, and that's fine. I'm glad somebody else is, because it makes it so much easier, especially if you have older parents and grandparents, but anyone, to understand what medicines they're taking and when to take it in a nice little pack. So basically, as a consumer, as a patient, if you are under several different prescriptions, you get a 30-day supply. So you're basically getting 30 packs for whatever times you need for that. So that's a great idea. Labeling, again, part of the brand. It identifies it, where it's made, the use, the nutrition, promotes the brand. And again, that's where we get our connections. Of course, services and support, that augmentation, the follow-up, the connections with the company, customers for life. We're always trying to remove the cognitive dissonance or that buyer's remorse. And we know what that is. That's when you buy something and then you say, oh, why did I do that? LL Bean, for the longest time, unfortunately, I believe they just stopped this policy. It was a lifelong warranty. And that was, if anything ever went wrong with the product, they would replace it. But there are companies out there that will stand by it for at least a year or more. Again, we're trying to just remove everything and make us feel safer about the things we have. But the augmentation, again, also the financing, how it's delivered, how, more than just the product itself. For companies, we have to decide on a product line. How many, how much, years and years ago, Apple had so many different iPads and computers in their lines, and they've been streamlining it down because every MacBook or MacBook Pro, 15-inch, 13-inch, iPad Pro, 12, maybe the 12-inch, I think it was the 9-inch, and then you have just the regular iPads. There's a market in that group for that product line. We have to wonder how many do we need in the selling. And of course, if we look at the car dealerships, the product line of Toyota or Honda, you have probably 20 to 30 different automobiles, and each one has a specific target market. Wow, there it is. Procter & Gamble, 300 brands in their product mix. 50 of them dominate, and 24 are valued at least $1 billion. You can see why that's such a giant organization. A lot of different jobs at Procter & Gamble. If you ever can get on with that company, it's a good one to work with. Services, Again, in the service business, they are intangible. Okay, we don't feel them, we don't taste or touch it, and we don't store it up. In the service industry, the reason it's hard, and the reason people who do so well in it, the services cannot be separated from the provider. Okay, that's important. You have to have consistency, and that's what makes or breaks you in the service business. If you're always great and consistent, you build up great goodwill. But just to say, I'm going to provide your landscape services for your home, and it's what you put into it. I'm going to do all your social media consulting for you. It's got to be great every time. They're not perishable, and they can have a lot of variability. So again, that is a quality, depends on who provides them, your team, your employees, how, when, where. It's very easy to start a service business. It's also very easy to go out of business in a service business because it all depends on how you provide that service. Keys to success. What about people? What about people? You know, employee training and development. My friends, when you get into those positions of supervisory, director, vice president, remember how important it is. Your employees are the product. I'm a firm believer in that. All the advertising, everything that Kroger puts in, or Central Market, or Whole Foods puts into getting you into the store, and you have your 200 or 300, prices have gone up so much, haven't they, of groceries, dollars worth of products in your cart, and then you come to probably one of the few people that you really have a relationship with is the person who's checking you out, the clerk. And if they're great, you love it. If they may have had a bad day, they may be mad at the company, they may be very upset, and they don't treat you well, the idea of you coming back in that store is going to be difficult. So, the consistency, the quality of work, taking care, you take care of your people, they will take care of you, because that's the value and profitability. I hope you work for an organization and will work for an organization that really puts the time and effort and training into you and into their employees. You see the companies that do, and they're some of the best in the world. Why is the brand so important? This is from Jack Greenberg. He was a former CEO of McDonald's. And someone asked him this question probably back in the 80s, maybe even the 70s, when McDonald's was just owning, fast food. And he said this: look, if every asset, if every building, every piece of equipment were destroyed in some sort of disaster, just whatever it was, and there was not a McDonald's standing, I could build the business back immediately. I could borrow the money, I could replace it, because the value of our brand is so, so strong. That's how important the brand is. I don't know if any of you are Bluebell ice cream fans, but we know Bluebell ran into some trouble in their supply chain years ago, and I believe it was Listeria that got into one plant in the South, either Alabama, Arkansas, or Louisiana, and they had to recall all the Bluebell ice cream. They took everything off the shelf. When Bluebell came back, it's crazy. People were just waiting in line at every store. In fact, I think they had to ration. You could only buy like 4 tubs of Bluebell. They literally had to have armed cars, you know, guiding the big trucks in, because people wanted that so bad. You would think that, oh my gosh, Bluebell's done. It's history. Maybe some people got really sick. It's possible somebody died from it. And here it is again, wanting it right back. That is the importance, my friends, of branding. The equity, the strategies, again, positive. The negatives, the Ford Pinto. Ford put a lot of money into their Pinto. That was the car in the 1970s. Great little car that fought off so many of the Asian imports, because we were going like Datsun and Toyota and Honda, because we were going from muscle cars to fuel efficiency. We were in the oil crisis. And the Pinto was great, except it tended to blow up if you hit it. And Ford did nothing to protect that. They just kept pushing Ford Pintos off like crazy. Hey, you know what? We'll win the court battle. We'll pay out the settlements. This car's making us money. And of course, it all blew up in their face, Could you put that Ford Pinto out again? Could you have that brand? That brand should be worth $20 billion right now. Should be one of their biggest sellers. Because the Mustang has kept. It's Mustang and Pinto came out almost, relatively the same time. Mustang came out first. Interesting. When it's negative, there's nothing sometimes that can be done to make it positive again. That's why it's so important, my friends. The strategies we create. There's the Apple. I think that was one of the Apple, maybe the first iPad or maybe the Apple 10 that came out. It's New York City. Just the craziness of fans, how much we love it. So, what are the benefits? What are we trying to look at? What are we trying to convey? Why? Why are you going to buy a Yeti cooler? That cooler right there is probably at its retail price $500. Sometimes it inspires loyalty beyond reason. People behind Yeti said, we get it. We are outdoor enthusiasts. We want a cooler that could save your life because those things float. We want a cooler you can take into the backwoods and that will keep ice cold. We'll keep that ice for at least 7 days. We want to be a part of your outdoor experience. That's what we are. And the company's done very, very well. There's been a lot of knockoffs on it from other brands. People love it. The name you pick suggests a lot. Is it easy to pronounce? I've had a lot of people with their small business ideas. They run names across me, and hey, I'll give you the advice as much as you pay for it. But I'm saying, who's your consumer? Who's your target customer? Because if it's me, it's going to be different. I mean, a lot of names I could not pronounce to save my life. And if I'm having a hard time with it, I couldn't understand it. When Jeff Bezos was a stockbroker, came out of New York in the early 1990s and said nobody was listening to him because he saw what the internet was about to do. Again, the internet has been around for 40 plus years, but it wasn't commercialized till about 1995. So he's in the early 90s and he can't get anyone to understand. He says, I think you can build a whole online business without a physical presence, no retail at all. And people are laughing him out of the water and say, get out of here, man. You don't know what you're talking about. You're too young. So he goes back to his father's house in Washington State and works out of a garage for several years. So my friends, you got the great idea. Bezos did it. Steve Jobs did it. A lot of people working out of garages and getting their business ideas done. He had his lawyer as he was going in, a friend, and said, you know what? Here's what I make my name. I want to make it Cadabra. And the lawyer goes, what? Cadabra. Like abracadabra, the magic trick. And his lawyer said, oh, because I thought you just said cadaver. Now, a cadaver is a dead body that you find in the morgue. And so Jeff said, oh, God, man, if my own friend who's a lawyer, he can't understand what I just said, maybe I got to go back to the drawing board. So he did. And what about Amazon when he came up with it? What does it say? What is that saying right there just when you look at the name? Look at the arrow. We have everything from A to Z. We got it all. The Amazon, it's the largest body of water besides the oceans, river in the world. It's the widest river in the world. It pushes more water through. I mean, we are giant. We're huge. You're going to find it here. Is it distinctive? Is it extendable? Can it grow with the company? If we pick something small, interesting, Kodak in its heyday. Again, George Eastman loved K. He wanted a very strong word, and that's where he had an English professor, a consultant back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, come up with Kodak. It just sounded very strong to him. Kind of also like a Kodiak bear, but that's not what it was named after. So, can it grow? Can it be translatable? Now, there's the beautiful Chevy Nova. Now, that's a classic car right there. In Spanish, it's very close to no-go. So you have this line going to Mexico and South America and parts of Europe. And Chevy said, why is anybody buying this car? And they finally talked to somebody on the streets and says, what are you talking about, man? This car's not going to go, man. Why would I buy that? Yikes. Yeah. So they had to kind of rebrand real quickly there in Japan. Now, in the Japanese culture, strives for perfection. They don't, 5 bad out of 100 does not make it in Japan. One bad product out of a lot of 100 does not make it in Japan. They strive for perfection. They want zero defects in anything they do. So you can see the Japanese products being just amazingly great. When Exxon in the 70s and 80s was pushing their retail gas in Japan, Exxon translated went very closely to ENCO, which means stalled car. And the same thing happened. Nobody's going. In that culture, you want me to go to that? A stalled car? Again, just some things how when we think of that brand name. So when you think of the naming that you're going for your business, is it capable? Is it capable of legal protection? My first thing, when you find something cool, now there's 8 billion people in the United States. There's a lot, I'm sorry, 8 billion people in the world, 350 million in the United States. A lot of creativity out there. Once you find something that you really think is great, first go on GoDaddy. See if someone's already got it and start, put your digital protection on it, okay? Buy the domain name. I don't care if you're not even going to use it for 5 years. Somebody will think of it. Put the domain name. Get your any social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't know if TikTok has the same thing, but probably for branding, whatever name you have, start protecting it, and then you can see about legal protection, which can get very, very expensive. But if it's worth it, to trademark that. So think about that on your own, and then of course you can go down to the county courthouse business names, and you can register it there. That doesn't give you tremendous protection, but at least it gives you a pretty fair amount before you go legal. But at least start getting all that creativity. Maybe you start it years from now. I've seen some students with great brand names, and I've checked it out, and they're open to get it. So do it. Well, let's bring it down to you. How's your digital footprint? What story does it tell about you? Yeah, I know we love it. I know we put our pics up there. I know we do a lot of fun stuff. But friends, we're all about trying to get the best career right now. You have one thing I think you can control in life, and that is your narrative. Okay, what you are saying. So make sure you always control that. Never let anyone else control your narrative. That is your mission. That is your story. And right now, look at all of the digital things you're doing. Are you controlling the narrative? Is it positive? Maybe it's time to take some stuff down. There's your LinkedIn. Get it going. Look me up, and we'll get your network going too. But just because we look at branding from the corporate and business standpoint, we should always be looking at it from your personal standpoint. Control your narrative. Put the best out every time. Be careful. If I was to ask Tiger Woods how his story, Tiger, I thought was going to blow everybody's record away. Jack Nicklaus, 19 tour wins, and I didn't think anything could stop him. This guy won the U.S. Open with a broken leg. It was incredible, and yet didn't think almost a trillionaire as far as wealth was considered. He's still very close to it. Athlete. And the narrative got out, didn't it? His cell phones, his text, and never been the same since. Learn from that lesson. Never say anything that could come back to haunt you on a social media page, never in a text, okay? Never on Microsoft Teams, on Zoom, whatever data we're using. Protect your narrative. There's LinkedIn. I hope you have connections. You need to get at least 100. So connect with me. And how are you managing that? I see a lot on LinkedIn today just putting up stories of their cat or their dog. And you're putting your resume on there. You're putting in your skills. This is how to work LinkedIn. And you're putting your most relevant work, okay? And dress it up, okay? I'm not a cart manager. I'm not a cart attendant at Texas Star Golf Course. I'm a golf assistant for a major golf course in Dallas-Fort Worth area, a professional golf. I mean, you dress things up, my friends, and make sure your picture's on there. Pay the money, to get someone good to take your picture, have the background. We're not doing it from our car, all right, with our own selfie, with the checking up the deuces, okay? Make it professional, because this is your resume going forward, LinkedIn. And that's how you're going to get, most of you are going to get your jobs, are going to get looked at. Make it look good. Whatever I can do to help, I will try to. Your Wix account, you can get a free Wix account. I know a lot of high schools are, for college students coming in, we're required to do this, but it's free. Again, this is where your resume, if someone wants to look at your work, that's why the projects that we do in this class are so important, because I've had many students put their projects, their plans, their business plan, their written work on their LinkedIn page, and they've gotten second looks at that. Be that proud of the work you do to put it on a Wix page, and it's free. You can pay for the premium as always, but personal branding, my friends, it's very important for you. Wow, we're wrapping up the target market. That's where we have to start. That is the marketing process, in my opinion. Besides the research, the things we do, we want to make sure how important it is that we identify an organization's target market. I told you my experiences back in the day at the garden center I worked at, I managed. Once we found our target customer, our sales, quadrupled in less than 2 years. It's that important. It's all marketing strategy. The product, place, price, promotion, people. It is driven by the target market. I hope that gives you a little better understanding. Hope you're doing well. You answering those questions on your project too. Hope you're safe and healthy. And as always, I hope that you make it a great day.